Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally, and this is the Question Guy podcast. Actually, this is a special edition of season three on the Question Guy podcast. And I have Cara Tyrrell here, and her and a group of colleagues, we're going to put on an education summit in 2023. So we're going to do it this year. And each speaker is going to have a very specific topic. Cara, what's your topic?
Thanks for having me. My topic is raising the COVID generation, and we're going to talk specifically about the five executive functioning skills that the kids born in the pandemic need to be practicing on a daily basis to be ready to find independence when they start school.
So, what is significant about the COVID or kids born out of the COVID generation, as you're putting it? And I don't like using air quotes, but I just did. So, what are there significant differences that you're seeing prior to any previous generation?
Yes, absolutely. So first, let me define it because a lot of the time, people say to me, "Well, I don't know if my child is a COVID child, or I don't know if I parented through the pandemic." So kids who were born between 2017 and 2021 are being defined as the COVID generation.
Okay.
The ones who were born in 2017, 18, and 19 were 1, 2, 3 years old when the pandemic hit. So, as far as their ability to progress through their traditional education, learning leaps and opportunities for development, they all hit pause. Then the kids who were born in 20 and 21 are true COVID babies. They were
Okay.
born into the pandemic and so missed out on all the learning opportunities from birth.
Wow. So in a previous conversation, you actually mentioned that when the pandemic hit and we all became quarantined and isolated, and lives were literally turned upside down because parents were working from home, had to work, and thus there was nobody really to take care of, I guess, essentially the basic needs of their children. Am I guessing that right?
So it's what happened is parents became the people who had to do it all,
Okay.
literally.
Okay.
You not only were the person who cared for your children, right? Kept them fed and warm and safe and nourished and all the things you already did, but you became their teacher as well. And you became their playmate as well. And you had to fill all the roles. And the struggle with that is that, well, you weren't trained to be a teacher.
Hmm.
Right? So you were doing it in survival mode and filling the gap the best way you knew how. And the struggle was that is you can be an amazing playmate for your child, but your child needs to play with other children because that's how they learn the social norms and social cues and practice that interpersonal skill on a developmental level. So basically parents were given a raw deal
Hmm.
where even if they did everything they were asked to do to the best of the ability that they knew how, it just wasn't going to be enough to help their kids develop on grade level and stay ready for that next step when we open back up.
So, what are you doing to help parents? And what's the word I'm looking for? Regain control or better, you know, bring them back in? I don't even have do you have a word for it? Surely you have a word for it. To fill in
Yeah,
that gap time that we lost.
so I call it recovering lost milestones.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the point here. And what I'm doing is one, getting on as many stages and platforms as possible and shouting it from the rooftops so parents know that they can like take a break. They can take a breath. They can forgive themselves. They can let go of all of that and say it's behind us now.
Hmm.
And then moving forward, all they need to do is focus on what truly matters. And that's why I've taken the hundreds of things that we could be doing and distilled it down to the top five skills that we need to practice on a daily basis inside our home with our kids, because that's doable, that's manageable. And we don't want to continue feeling overwhelmed. We do want to regain some type of calm and confidence inside parenting, knowing that the world is a changed place.
So before we kind of like really just touch on those five things, you have reiterated the idea that there's a lot of emotion and feelings involved in this. When you talk with parents, do they feel guilty about what they couldn't or didn't do? Is that part of the navigation?
There's a lot of guilt. First of
Mm,
all, just as humans, as adults, we're still processing some of the traumas that were felt and experienced and lived during that elongated pandemic time. Our kids absorbed all of those emotions as we were living them.
mm,
And so you originally asked me, what are we seeing that's different with this generation of kiddos?
yeah.
And I'll circle back and say, they are not able to use emotional regulation effectively. Their response to everything that is no, not yet, right, not right now, or feels not so great inside is to melt down, is to cry, is to just completely fall apart. So that's one major difference we're seeing. Another, it late to talk because lack of input of all the different variety of voices and tones and things that kids usually have access to. Not understanding how they're feeling, not able to read social cues because their whole life or the majority of it, people were masked, and we get a lot of that information from seeing everybody's face.
Face, yeah.
Yeah, some are late to with their motor control, some are late to potty train, some are late to walk, not able to do like the jumping on one foot and all of those gross motor things that kids typically can do during the preschool stages. And we're seeing a lot of tech addiction. We're seeing kids who used tech as a soothing object during long periods of time.
Mm.
And
Like phones and
that,
iPads and such. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, when I'm not in an okay place, I have an iPad. I get phone put in front of me. I get to watch those extra TV shows. So, to answer your question, parents are realizing they made choices that they had to make to survive every single day and get everything else done that was required of them in the home, but that those choices are now defining the way that their child interacts with the world. And so, yeah, they have to forgive themselves and just say, I did what I had to do. Now we deal with how to teach my child how to effectively use tech as a tool and not a toy. Now we deal with how to go to a play group and not have to leave after 10 minutes because they're using their body on somebody else's.
Mm. I've noticed that even though we're now in what, 1, 2 years past the quarantine and the big impact of the pandemic, people are still wearing masks. Parents are still wearing, I see it. I don't see it all the time, but I do see it occasionally. Because that's, and because you just said that by hiding our face and children at a younger age interpret everything that we see on our face. I remember playing peekaboo, basically with my daughter when she was a very, very young. And you have all those facial expressions and and it's a very real interaction. She's not talking or anything, but she'll laugh and she'll giggle and she'll interact with me just by playing this very simple game. And that was gone, for probably many, many parents. Those type of real simple interactions uh, maybe didn't happen or didn't happen as often as they should have.
You're absolutely right. And what's interesting about what you just said is that the peekaboo and the hiding and the putting things in front of your faces and pulling them back down, those are all really positive, fun, facial interactive experiences. But what this COVID generation experienced was watching their parents, masked or unmasked, and everybody else, because we speak with our eyes as
Mhm.
well, right? They could see that have those adverse emotions, stress, worry, overwhelm, anxiety. So they did get some of these interactions organically, but they weren't intentional, right?
Mm.
It was just this transfer. So that's really what I'm coming out here to talk about is to say we get to be intentional. now. And to your point, if our kids don't know how to read faces, we teach them. This is my happy face. This means I feel really good in my body right now. This is my frustrated face. I really wish you would hear my words and you're not listening. And so now my face looks like this and my voice sounds different because I'm frustrated.
Mm.
We just have to teach them.
I like that you're using the word intentional and intentionality. I use that in my coaching program, but it's more for leaders and those who are trying to really navigate the adult elements of life. So I'm very happy, one, for the word, and two, the real meaning behind it, because our message now is clear. We are making a specific point at a specific time for a specific purpose. When you teach moms, basically, because I know you've said you teach parents, but you're specifically directing your energies towards moms. How are they receiving that? Because now we have to make a transition, and intentionality is intentional. And I'm not trying to uh, be, overbear the word. How are your moms receiving that that coaching element, that support from you? To be intentional is to be okay. It's okay to be intentional.
They love it.
That was a lot
It
of
can't,
words. I'm sorry.
right after I give them maybe just that one sentence or that one sentence starter, like I just did here, you just see the relief, like their shoulders come down off their ears and they go, oh, I can do that. Like they believe that they have this mountain, this impossible mountain to scale, right? Because there is a gap that's been created for these kiddos. But when I give them these small, actionable things that they can just build into the way they talk to their kids every day, build into the way they structure their day, all of a sudden they go, I am confident that I can do this. And that makes all the difference in the world.
Today is sometime in February 2023. Our summit is not until August. Between now and then, what words of inspiration, hope, even support, and I like the word that you used in our first conversation, in an earlier conversation, cheerleader. You talked about being a
Mm.
cheerleader. More moms, more parents, more adults need cheerleaders. And I've started using that word in my LinkedIn conversations. We need cheerleaders. We just need to know that there are other people out there supporting us, even when we don't have that happy face on. That's probably when we need our cheerleader the most. So how can we get our parents, get our teachers, get our audience ready between now and when we see them in August?
Yes, I love being a cheerleader. Just know that you don't have to do everything every day. It's so important to know that you have plenty of time because we say kids are resilient, right? As adults, we go, oh, they're resilient. What that really means is that their brains and the plasticity levels are so capable of shifting faster than ours are. So you are thinking every day as a parent, as a mom, as a teacher of this generation, I have to do all the things to help them recover all these lost skills. But really, if you just do a few things every day, consistently, they are going to fill those gaps far faster than if you put all that effort and all that stress on yourself to be everything. We've done that. That's what we did the whole pandemic. It's time to get focused and clear about the skills they need to be practicing and just blend them into your life at home and watch how quickly they all of a sudden show you I can be a flexible thinker. I can start to problem solve for myself. I can manage my own time and do something fun by myself when I get bored. We have a few action steps to take. They will recover quickly.
Cara, thanks for joining me on a very special edition of the Question Guy podcast. I look forward to your talk in August. You have a good day. And for those who are watching and listening, you have a good day as well. Take care.